معرفة.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us discuss about musharaka. What is musharaka? Musharaka is basically a partnership between two or more parties whereby each party contributes a specific amount of money in a manner that gives each party a right to deal in the assets of the partnership. The profit in a musharaka is distributed amongst the partners according to the partnership agreement, and the losses are borne according to the contribution. So this is an important point which one has to keep in mind. Now let us discuss about some of the main principles with regards to musharaka. To start with, let's talk about parties. So as we have just now explained, in a musharaka there can be two or more than two parties. And in terms of the contractual arrangement, of course that contractual arrangement needs to be built after there is a proper offer and acceptance between the parties. In terms of the parties to have legal capacity and they must be sane, that is also a prerequisite for the contract to be completed. Let's talk about the capital of musharaka. The capital, as we said, is contributed by partners. Now this capital can be in the form of monetary assets or in the form of tangible assets. It can be lump sum, it can be in installments, and it can be in different currencies. Using debt alone as a contribution in a musharaka is not acceptable. What it means is that, for example, if there is a party which will be receiving a cash of 10 million after 3 months, so that receivable obligation a party cannot put into the musharaka, saying that I put my participation as a receivable into the musharaka pool. That is not acceptable with regards to the contract of musharaka. So we need to understand that debt alone cannot be acceptable as a participation from any of the participant in a musharaka contract. Let us discuss about the management of musharaka. Management of musharaka. In terms of managing the musharaka venture, all the partners have the right to take part in the management. But all the partners can also agree that certain partners will be managing the musharaka and certain partner will be just acting as sleeping partners. All the partners can agree to appoint one of the partner as a manager through a separate independent agreement, and that partner will be responsible to manage the musharaka. Or all the partners can collectively agree to appoint a third party as a manager to manage the musharaka venture. Let us talk about the concept of or the principle of guarantee in a musharaka. One important point which one has to keep in mind in musharaka is that a partner cannot guarantee capital of another partner. Okay? Except in case when one partner provides a personal guarantee to cover the cases of misconduct, negligence, and breach of contract. But a third party can provide a guarantee to a musharaka venture. Let's discuss about profit distribution. In a Musharaka venture, the profit has to be agreed upon. In a Musharaka contract, the ratio of profit needs to be agreed upon at the time when the parties are entering into the contract. The profit cannot be lump sum or percentage of the capital. It has to be a ratio. And it is also not permitted to defer the determination of the profit percentage owing to each partner until the realization of the profit. So what it means is that when the partners are entering into a Musharaka contract, at that point itself, the profit sharing ratio has to be agreed amongst the partners. In terms of the distribution of the profit, what can be agreed is that one partner can be paid profits on account, before the final settlement happens. There is one point needs to be kept in mind in terms of the profit distribution, is that one partner can be paid profits on account in advance before the final settlement. In terms of the loss, let us discuss about the principle of loss in a Musharaka. The proportion of losses must be equal to the proportion of the capital contribution. So unlike the ratio of the profit distribution, which can be agreed upon between the participants, the ratio of the losses to be shared by the partners cannot be agreed upon irrespective of the proportion of the capital contribution. So what it means is that both the partners have to share the losses in proportion to the capital contribution each partner makes into the Musharaka. So it is not permitted that a partner has contributed 50% of the capital, but he wants only 20% of the risk to be shared. No, that is not allowed. So one important point in a Musharaka is that the proportion of losses must be equal to the proportion of capital contribution. In terms of the maturity and termination, in terms of maturity and termination, what we have to understand is that each partner has the right to terminate the Musharaka contract. At maturity, the assets can be distributed in fixed proportion. One partner can buy all the assets as per the market value. So what it means is that one of the partners can agree in a Musharaka that at maturity, that partner will buy the assets of the Musharaka, but we need to be clear that the price at which the partner will be buying the Musharaka assets will be the market value of the assets at that point in time. So these are some of the important principles of the Musharaka as we discussed in terms of the maturity and termination, in terms of the parties, in terms of the capital contribution to the Musharaka, in terms of the management, in terms of the guarantee, and in terms of the profit distribution, and in terms of the loss. Let us quickly understand the structure of Musharaka. So as we have discussed, in a Musharaka, there are two partners. So for example, this is a financial institution and this is a customer. Both the partners provide capital. So this is the capital from the financial institution and this is the capital from the customer. Now, in the Musharaka agreement, they agree upon who will be appointed as a manager to manage the Musharaka venture. So for example, in this case, the customer is appointed as a manager to manage the project on behalf of the financier. So a project is managed. In the Musharaka agreement, it needs to be clearly mentioned what will be the profit sharing ratio between the partners. So for example, if they have agreed to share a profit sharing ratio of 50%, so for example, if they have agreed to share a profit sharing ratio in the ratio of 50:50, and one important point is that in case of loss, the loss has to be in proportion to the investment. So to understand, in this Musharaka, for example, if the bank has invested $80 and the customer has invested $20, so the loss, so if there is at all a loss of $10, then $8 needs to be borne by the bank and $2 needs to be borne by the customer. So basically, one important principle in a musharaka is that the profit ratio can be agreed mutually, but the loss has to be in proportion to the investment in the musharaka venture. So this is basically how a musharaka works.